I hear you want to make a good My Hero OC, and I think you came to the right place. So, why do we want to make a good My Hero OC? So, unlike other power systems and pretty much anything that involves powers, not just anime, a lot of it is just pure magic. None of it can really be explained. The show writers just say, oh no, it's magic. This is why I like My Hero. Not saying I like the fan base, at least not all of you, that a lot of it comes down to biology. Biology is easily explainable. Well, not easily, but it's a lot more easily explainable than just a stupid magic system. Let's just say that. So, we all know Bakugo's quirk, Explosion, which is just nitroglycerin sweat that he can explode with his other part of the quirk. I can't remember off the top of my head right now. I'll probably put it on the screen right now. But we know that. So, let's dig into it. We can all dig a hero that can throw down like All Might, but a character who never breaks a sweat kind of gets kind of stale, right? The good stuff comes from the struggle. How will they overcome this moment? So what's the secret ingredient? Limitations, my friend. Limitations are what make things interesting. My Hero OCs included. And you gotta remember, hereditary and quirks. It's mostly family business. Mostly. Remember, in My Hero Academia, quirks are like family heirlooms. A mashup of your parents' powers. Let's look at the most classic example of this. Todoroki Fire and Ice. Classic combo from mom and dad, one with fire powers and one with ice. Obviously mutations still exist, just like in the real world, but they're extremely rare. But even then, quirks have to have a biological basis. Think of them as super specialized adaptations. Say if you need to survive on the sun, your body's gonna adapt to that, like animals or sea bears as an example as well. As I said, quirks aren't magic. They're all about what your body can do. Just like as I said earlier, Bakugo's explosions, those aren't coming out of nowhere. It's his sweat glands going ham, producing nitroglycerin, the fuel for his fiery blast. Pretty cool, right? So let's get to what you're gonna be basing your quirks off. And there's three main types of quirks: emitters, mutants, and transformations. And it's not saying that you can't combine these, but two maximum if you want to start with a good quirk. So emitter. Basically, these quirks are like projecting your inner power. Think of Momo creating objects from thin air, Bakugo's explosions, hot and ice. Basically, no physical changes to the body, but can still produce that whatever. Mutant. So these are like permanent body mods, like Suyu and the whole frog thing going on. Or maybe someone with like enhanced eyesight, maybe. So these are permanent changes that you can't turn off and on. And last one, transformation. These quirks are all about temporary changes. Think of Mino turning into a walk-in acid factory, or someone who can transform into a super strong beast, but only for a few minutes. You can even count All Might as a transformation quirk with All for One if you really want to. Did I say All for One? One for All. If you really want to go scientific. Remember, even within these categories, limitations are key. Maybe your emitter has to recharge after a big move. Maybe your mutant has a weak spot they have to protect. Or maybe your transformation has a time limit. It's all about balance. Good balance equals good character. And when there's balance, you can break those limitations in smart ways. So, here are my three main rules for making a good My Hero OC. Rule number 1. Is it magic? What this means is, can you explain this in real-world science or something similar to real-world science? It doesn't have to be perfect, but is it possible to be passed down, basically? This gets me to rule number 2. Rule number 2. Is it possible that two traits combined to make this one? Say if you got lightning, and then the other parent had, let's say, reptilian. So when they combine together, did you get a reptilian lightning quirk? So like a electric reptile? Then yeah, that could happen. A bad example of this would be speech. How do you pass down speech? Is it amplifying the voice? If it's amplifying the voice, it could be passed down from parents, but if it's just speech, how does that pass down? What are the quirks of the parents? Speech? What does that mean? How does speech be passed down? Language? What? No, it doesn't make sense. So that would be a bad quirk. Of course, there's always exceptions, but you have to think really hard about it. And rule number 3, is there a one-shot move? Say wind. Wind is extremely strong. A lot of the time, they have to nerf themselves. Think Aang from Avatar: The Last Airbender. They can straight up suck the air out of lungs, which is shown in Korra. But they purposely don't do that, because air nomads are peaceful, unlike Zahir. It's an in-universe nerf. So try not to use anything that has a one-shot. So like winds, anything that can just one-shot, basically, is what I'm trying to say. If it can one-shot, try not to use it. You can, just try not to, though. It just causes every fight to end up like, why didn't he use that? Why didn't he use that? You could have just one-shot him if he just did this. There won't be any of that if you just don't use something like that. So if you follow those 3 main rules, so we're gonna look at a couple examples now, and then we're gonna show you mine. So I will not be critiquing the art, as art is subjective, as obviously, and a lot of these people are better artists than me, but whatever. So let's talk about this one, Super Baya. Super Baya allows the user to just think of any quirk and have it. So this one's just breaks most of the rules immediately. So let's say another copy quirk where you have to touch it, similar to Monoma's. That's the limit. The limit is he has to touch someone, and it makes sense. Adaptation can be passed down from parents, say like if they ate something or something similar to the octopus guy, I can't remember his name. So that makes sense. But just thinking of a quirk, what does that mean? How do you just think of a quirk and then you have it? Like, how does that pass down? What 2 quirks could have combined to make that? It just what? I have no clue. What 2 quirks could combine to make that? I have no clue. Because it's just thinking. You're literally just thinking and you would adapt. I just don't understand. Let's move on to the next one. Word of Law. This is another bad example. Word of Law. This one sounds really like okay, but the problem is it's basically an illusion. So is it like a gas? No, it's just words. So what exactly is in these words that causes these illusions? What hereditary traits could have been passed down to cause this? It's not like amplification from a voice, like present mic, no. What exactly is being transferred to make people fear these illusions? Like, is it a gas? Is it a smell? All he does is talk. That's it. That's all he does is talk. It's very similar to Star and Stripes quirk. The Star and Stripes quirk is meant to be OP on purpose, just so we show how strong Shigaraki was, because Shigaraki only wanted plot armor, obviously. The Star and Stripes wasn't ever meant to be an actual character, just a plot device. So yeah. So let's now look at the good ideas for quirks and some good examples of how people used them. Blood Edge. So Icor. So this is a really cool one, blood manipulation. So it's able to make blood from these cuts on her body, and also if they touch a person, they can control the blood in their body, similar to blood bending. Very strong, but very situational, because first you also have to be hurt to even use your own blood as a weapon or a defensive tool, and then to even use it on another person, they already have to have blood scraping off of them. Really strong, and I can see this be easily passed down from parents with just some sort of blood power. There's a lot of blood powers in My Hero, thanks to Toga, Stain, so lots of blood powers, and then just give it some sort of like emitter as another parent, and bam, you got Icor. Next one, Sleep Talk. This is a good example of Sleep Talk. So, anything that hears his voice, basically, they get drowsy, but he also gets drowsy. So, my guess is it's some sort of gas that comes out. Some sort of gas comes out of his voice, some sort of knockout gas. And while he is still affected by it, so there's the negative right there. He's still affected by it, so he has to either train to stop getting drowsy as fast or knock them out quick. So bam, there's a limitation right there. Good rule set. Follow the rule set, easy. This could be passed down from some sort of hereditary quirk, has to do with gas, and then the other quirk, say like melatonin production, and the body's produced. Bam, you find that, you get Sleep Talk. Makes sense. Makes sense to me, hereditary. So I guess now that we're done talking about some OCs that I found, I guess I'll show you my OC. So this is Claw and Sand. So the first thing I did when I tried to come up with this was, what were the parents' quirks like? So I thought, okay, the parents is, at least one of them is a reptilian. So she has at least some reptilian traits that are a mutation that she can't turn off, but she can't control them as a tail she can grow at will. And then the other one, someone had some sort of emitter quirk. So I thought quartz. Okay, quartz emitter. So if you combine those two together, I was like, okay, so reptilian quartz. What do those sound very similar? Desert reptiles. Desert reptiles can live in sand. Okay, so it's like, okay, her main quirk is sand control. A slight combined with a small mutation. Nothing crazy, nothing that it could be a mutation, more of just a progression. So she's basically a desert reptile that has the ability to control sand. And sand by itself, very strong, very strong. You can make structures with it. You can, I don't know if they have like flying, maybe, that would have to be fleshed out more. Sand, she can't turn herself into sand. She can only control sand. That would be a transformation style quirk. So, lots of potential with sand and lots of potential to grow, because maybe she hardened sand and turned it into something else. Maybe she can like condense the sand and turn it into metal or something like that. Something. Sand has a lot of open possibility, and there's not a one-shot move to sand. Sure, you can say put sand in every one of the orifices, but realistically, no one's thinking of that, because if we did, we got Gaara. Gaara would have done it, or stuff like that. No one says, man, why didn't Gaara just suffocate them with sand? He tried. He did try. Sand isn't something that's as easily suffocated by like as wind. Can't. So, just no one-shot. Hereditary makes sense. Not overpowered, so there's definitely limits that can be broken, because it is just sand, and water is a big counter to sand. So, not counting that she lost an eye and all that stuff. But basically, that's what I was thinking when I made this OC. So this follows most of the rules, doesn't break them. But it might. It's hard, and this stuff is tricky. So, there's my OC, I guess. Will I be making more of these videos? Maybe. Probably not, though. So, if you guys like this and want to show me your OCs, talk about it in the comment section. Even join my Discord. Like and subscribe, Zazels and Zazets.
Quirks all around, nothing's ever the same. We're the hero fighting to the end. With our own quirks, we're gonna transcend. Some can fire, others can freeze. Quirks so random, it's hard to believe. I've got a quirk, it's cool and unique. I fight for justice, my future is complete. We're united, heroes through and through, using our quirks. We will see this through. From the smallest quirk to the biggest flame, we'll keep fighting whatever it takes. Using our quirks, we'll see this through. From the smallest quirk to the biggest flame, we'll keep fighting, we'll never be tamed.